Alrighty, Shanka Prakshalana movements. So, highly recommend. Outside is just much better. You can ground yourself, get connected with Mother Nature. Just more pleasant. Also, feel free to grab some coconut oil and massage it all over your sexy six pack and your beautiful loving chest, because it gets you more connected, more conductivity, and you just feel good, and it adds a bit of a shininess to you. So, and by the way, if you don't have a sexy six pack or a flat stomach, then this is one way to help you get there. 58 times now. So, once you've got the concoction from before, basically, and you want it nice and warm, and you want to scull it down it as quick as you can. So I'll do half for demonstration purposes. And so we got 5 main movements to wash completely, to wash clean. So first one is palm tree. And having your hands interlocked, and if you've got the ability to chest bounce and peck dance with music, why not? Coming up into crown and lifting up. And I like to move up onto the toes. Just gets a little bit more of the ankle flexibility happening, and also a little bit more trying to get grounded and heavy, because we don't need to be all flighty and fluffy. This is another way to stay grounded. And from here we move into swaying palm. So I like to hold it onto it. Just feels a great stretch down the side. Coming back up for catching the breath, and then reaching over. So if you can hold that same interlocking posture, great. If not, you can just hold onto your thumb if you need to, for an extra bit of pulling over on the side, feeling it down. Ooh, that feels good. So, ideally you want to do this one for 5, and then this one 5, hold for 5, and then do it 5 times. Is an easy way to remember it. Okay, so once we've done this one, we want to sway and body twist. So it's a gentle flowing motion. I like to have the hand here on the outsides, get a bit of action on the kidneys and love handles. You can love your handles if you like. I prefer to funk them off. That's my style. And so what we're doing here is each movement is specifically designed for moving it through the intestines. So the first one, we'll get it down to the stomach, move it up or down, sway it a little bit so it moves overflows from the stomach, especially when you get more water in. And this one will move it across the transverse colon once it gets through to there. Okay, so next one. We're coming down here. Ooh, bit of cracks. And if we move our right knee in front of our left foot, and then ideally put a little bit of pressure, bringing it up, holding onto the leg, onto the knee, just pushing up into the transverse colon on the sides, really the descending colon on this side. And that especially when you've got 3-4 liters of the salt water concoction in you, you'll feel the bloatedness will put a little bit of pressure on there. So come across on the other side, same sort of thing, hold for 5 and do it 5 times. Just a gentle amount of pressure will allow more flow through these areas here, which are tricky to get at. This is one of the best tools to get at those areas, to have a nice, more defined six-pack that we'd all like to have, but it's not so easy to get. Okay, next one, coming down into Cobra. Yep, you can see me. And what I like to do is say, look over my right shoulder and look over at my left heel. So you can certainly feel this coming down, muscles right there. And then for the other side, looking over my left shoulder at my right heel. And you can certainly feel all the muscles down here activating. So do that each side 5 times. And that's the complete set of the 5 movements. But once once you're in a flow, I suggest keeping it to that, but the general idea is to stay upright to allow all the water to flow through. But having said that, if you want to have a few other, your body feels like moving and grooving and shaking to some music, go for it. Having a bit more fun, invite a couple of people, why not, right? So often I like to put in a few cat-cows, because when you've got a lot of water in there, this is also great for activating the solar plexus and flushing the digestion. Another option is especially for generally mesomorph people, or the people who've got a little bit more width about them from their choices, then it can take a little bit longer to go through for them. So if it's not going through and you're struggling with it, options are massaging the digestive system, just like really, and especially in these parts here, give it a good rub and some nice firmness. If you've got someone else to do it for you, then that can be helpful too, if you're up for that. This solar plexus point here, so if you trace your rib line around here, and you'll find a little joint and the indent, 2 fingers down, and put your thumb on there, and then get into it. Yeah, a little bit closer. And use the other hand to hold the wrist, and in circular motions, that'll release lots of digestive system and gastric juices to allow more flow. And if you want to get with the other side as well, that works really well. Other option is, so in order to, everything's trying to move down, but we've all got blockages in the digestive system, stuff that's in the way and growths that have just turned up. Then we want to forgive ourselves and ideally solve it. So idea is to push everything down, but if it's not going through, there's too many blockages, there's not enough water seeping through for evacuation, the option is shoulder stand. One of my favorites. So if you can hold this for 30 seconds to a minute, whatever you're comfortable with. So far my record's 10 minutes. If you can handle that and get into a meditative space, it's wonderful. So what that does is allows the liquids to flow back up again, to flow back down. So it's like extra pressure through a hose. Oh look, through the tubes, creating pressure in the hose. So also a great idea is, once you've done the first evacuations, a little bit of coconut oil on the bot is a big advantage. Expert pro tip for beginners, because it's the stuff that's flying out is generally going to be acidic and a whole bunch of shit, and with a little bit of salt, so it's kind of like a bit of a sandpaper effect. So it's definitely a good idea before and during and after to put a little bit of coconut oil on the bot, on the rectum, on the sphincter. Also, afterwards, it's a very good idea to have ghee, but if you're not into ghee because you don't understand it, then coconut oil by the tablespoon. Just load it up. 3 to 5 is fine, because you want to nourish the mucous membrane, more fats and oils to allow everything that's coming out to flow easily. So this one is just another container I've put in some white clay. So white clay I use as a binding agent because I'm cleaning my skin, and that's one of the clays that are better for cleaning the skin. Other options are activated charcoal. I generally go for activated charcoal for the bigger mesomorph people, because it's more airy and it expands and spreads through mucus. Whereas for, say, Vata or ectomorph people who are generally naturally lean, then I go for something like activated charcoal, because it's heavy and dense and it will expand through them and provide a density for them to keep them more grounded. So it's a bit more of an energetic thing, but it seems to work better for their bodies in particular. So, and then lots and lots of nourishment. The ideal situation is to make khichdi. So, and if you want, traditionally you can do it for 3 days. Just have khichdi for 3 days. Makes it easy. Just have to cook one big pot. The idea is to keep it nice and light. Lots of steamed or vegetables, bit of rice, but minimize the meat and the raw cooling fruits and foods, which is another option, but that's more of an advanced one. So the idea is to have, your mung beans, your dal, lentils, and chickpeas and things, because they're all easy to break down with lots of rejuvenating properties from protein and mineral acids that are easy to absorb, because you've just heaved-hoed a whole lot of gunk that could emotionally, psychologically and spiritually have been there for quite a long time and be a part of who you think you are as your personality, or what people call their ego, which doesn't really understand it, because it's the environmental gut organism that has a whole lot of stuff in it. When you get rid of those things, then you have more resources to yourself to build more muscle and to be who you are from your own soul, your own spirit, rather than some made-up illusion from a disease that has been controlling the gut and the brain. Best to heave-ho these things, find them, flush them out with lots of ghee and coconut oil, and if you want the guidance from one of the masters, then let me know, because it is a whole lot easier to go through this process when you've done it a number of times before, and you can guide and understand and do tongue analysis to see what's going on. So drop in 2-3 kilos on average, up to 5, and it really does transform your body into a much better shape, because then you've got more resources for yourself rather than holding on to separate sections where the body can't even touch, and therefore psychologically and emotionally an inner child situation comes along and goes, wee! So there's just less emotions, less of the lower self, of the things you don't like about yourself, and you can just flush them out, heave ho. So to more flushing out, to more heave ho of the gunk-ola, for more shiny sparkly sexiness, why not?